Stephen A., is Big Ben more of a problem or a solution? Because this franchise feels like a mess right now.
He's both. He's both. He's definitely a part of the problem because, of the manner in which he's handled things. I mean, again, you've got numerous players, you've got numerous NFL aficionados that have religiously called out Big Ben for saying things and throwing people under the bus in a fashion that other quarterbacks don't. This is not me talking. This is me basically reporting what they've said, as Max has done and many others. If you watch Big Ben, you're talking about Juju Smith-Schuster. We should have thrown the ball to him every time. You say something like that, you've got to know. You've been around Antonio Brown long enough to know how those kind of things would affect him, along with various other things and other positions that he has taken that we don't have time to get into. In the end, what it comes down to is that has made him a part of the problem because Big Ben has lived by a different set of rules. He's a bit flagrant with it, and I don't give a damn who you are. Anytime you receive preferential treatment and you are playing by a different set of rules as everybody else, you are going to rub people the wrong way, especially when you're considered an individual who abuses the privilege. That's the bottom line. Having said all of that, when you look at Big Ben, he's also a part of the solution because nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. And if you're willing to man up and acknowledge that you could have done better in certain respects, I think that will go a long way. I think the thing for the Antonio Browns of the world and others that are incredibly frustrating is not that Big Ben makes the mistakes that he's made, is that he isn't necessarily deemed as an individual that learns from them, apologizes, shows the appropriate level of contrition, and moves forward without making sure not to repeat those mistakes again. Throughout the years, you've seen a pattern of behavior that has been consistent with him and that he has gotten away with it if you listen to those NFL players. Antonio Brown is one of those NFL players. He is somebody that has said that. And as a result, you're Big Ben. You want to alleviate this situation. You speak up. You recognize where you're at fault. And I think if he did that, that would go a long way. So he's both a problem and a problem solver in all of this because he's right in the middle of everything as the star quarterback of the team, who obviously is outspoken from time to time.
Well, we agree and disagree because I think he is part of the problem and the solution, but for very different reasons. I think he's part of the problem because Ben Roethlisberger is like a rich man's Eli Manning. He is too good for your team just to stink, almost no matter what's going on, right? You're going to win some games, maybe usually make the playoffs. So how do you get his successor? There's no succession plan. I just talked about how, unless you're Bill Belichick level GM, it's not so easy to find a quarterback when you're not drafting up high. It's more of a crapshoot. They don't have the person there that they feel can take the reins of the team or that they're truly grooming. It doesn't seem to me. And therefore, at the moment, he wields a lot of power because when you don't have that, but you do have a talented team and you have a quarterback who's shown he can still play at a very high level, and we're in an era, that's right, Teddy, in an era where older quarterbacks are clearly protected in ways they've never been. You look at the level Tom Brady's still playing at 41, Drew Brees at 40, Ben Roethlisberger at 37, that they realize, oh, wait a minute, as beat up as he's been, as much as he talked about retirement, he still maybe has some years of football left in him. We don't have his backup, so he wields probably too much influence, and he seems to at times publicly throw players teammates under the bus. He's a problem because he's too good to get that next quarterback with your draft pick. He's your solution to the extent that you're good because he's a really good quarterback, and if you ain't got that, you ain't got anything.
Yeah, I'm with both of you here because Big Ben has been a problem, and he can be a part of the solution, but this is what's happening here. As you're talking about, Max, and the quarterbacks in this league getting older and older and still being able to play past 40, what's happening is a generational gap. A generational gap between the quarterback and all of the younger skilled players and all of the younger players on defense that are ending up being a part of this team and the ability to relate. So they're almost... These kids are coming in playing. I mean, Roethlisberger will have players coming in next year that have had his poster on the wall or something like that grew up as fans. And so how does that quarterback, that aging quarterback, you mentioned Brees, Brady, and Roethlisberger, how is he able to relate to them and make them feel like still an equal and as one of his teammates? This is where Ben Roethlisberger has failed. Has he failed also in other aspects where Stephen A's talking about, where he's calling out teammates where he's got no business when he should have, when he's the one making bad plays also? level. Yes, I agree with that, but he needs to learn to start to relate to these younger generation of players because he will continue to get older, and that gap is real. And you'll see players like Breeze, how he still, it seems like Brady and Breeze, they're old, okay? How do they still have these close bonds with these young players that come into their teams and their teammates are talking about them like their best friends?
Teddy,
how does that happen? There's something character-wise that Breeze and Brady has right now that Roethlisberger is lacking.
I need your help with something here because here's where you lost me. You talked about him relating to the younger players, and I don't disagree with that, Teddy. The problem is it ain't the younger players complaining about him. Antonio Brown is 30 years old. He's been Big Ben Roethlisberger's teammate for almost the past decade. And so this is I'm not saying that he's 37 or 37 like Big Ben is, but he ain't 20 either. He ain't 21 like Juju Smith-Schuster. The man is 30. The last 6 seasons, he's had a minimum of 101 receptions, a minimum of 1,287 yards. He's produced for Big Ben. He's been a primary target for Big Ben, and yet that's where the problem seems to lie at this particular moment in time. So how do you explain that?
And I'll put it simply then, because I agree with you there. It's a feeling that I've had with the quarterback that I played with, and a lot of the Saints and a lot of these older players on these teams that I'm mentioning, they have the overwhelming thought in their mind that my quarterback's got my back, no matter what. That's what I think's not there in Pittsburgh. It seems like if something happens, the quarterback isn't there to either bail you out off the field or bail you out on. That's what it is. I don't know if they feel the same way as some of these Saints and other players that this quarterback, he's got my back. He's the leader.